Hey, it's Dan with Philosophical Fishing. I just want to take a brief minute before I start this video to thank you guys for liking, subscribing, and commenting on these videos. If you do find these videos helpful, please consider subscribing and liking the video because it does help the channel to grow, and hopefully I can keep expanding on this and it'll allow me to do this in a greater capacity in the future. So thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I wanted to talk to you guys today about symptoms, just in general, nothing specific, but just I've noticed that myself over the past couple weeks. I've actually had about a week and a half or 2 weeks where I was pretty much symptom free, and it was awesome. And yes, I'm 7 years out, and yes, I've had a huge amount of healing, as I always say. I really have, considering where I came from in psychosis and psych wards, and just as damaged as I could possibly be. Over the past couple of weeks, up until about 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I pretty much was symptom free. And let me tell you guys, I felt so good. My body felt good. I had an abundance of energy. I was going to the gym, and I work out anyways a few times a week. But over the past couple of weeks when I was symptom free, I felt myself going into the gym, and it was like I could feel the energy going through my body. I could feel my muscles were working so much better. Everything about my body, every body function from my brain down to my feet was functioning at like full capacity. And it was such a good feeling. It was awesome. And of course, you never want that feeling to leave. If you've had a window where you feel like you're back to normal or somewhat back to normal, or pretty much back to normal, you know what I'm talking about, where you get these times where your symptoms just kind of float off into the periphery and you feel 100% for a little while. That's exactly where I was, and it felt so awesome. It felt so good. And then about 3 days ago or so, they kind of, the nervous system dysregulation, the pain in my muscles, the pain in my back, my symptoms kind of all came back. And mind you, my symptoms today are so much less than what they used to be. They're so much better. The symptoms that I have today are probably like 5% of what they actually used to be, but still it affects me. Another thing that I notice is my cognition when I'm in a window, and my symptoms were gone for that like week and a half or 2 weeks or whatever it was. I could think clearly. I could formulate thoughts much more clearly. I could articulate much more clearly. I could speak better. And then again, about 3 days ago or so, when like that switch flipped and I felt like my nervous system go back down again, I found it really hard to kind of formulate sentences and formulate words. And it just, I don't know if you ever get this symptom too, where you're just speaking and you're searching for a word that's like a really common word that you use, and you're like, damn it, like I can't think of it. It's like, the word is like, where did I put my my hat? That's right, the word is hat. Where did I put my hat? Just like some really common like stupid word that you'd use every day. I get that when my nervous system kind of shuts down. And so that's where I am again. Again, it's probably about 5% of what it used to be, but it still affects me. And I think it's just, if nothing else, it's a real testament to how powerful these drugs are and the real damage that they do over a long period of time. And I hope that me saying this doesn't frighten or scare anybody watching this video. I don't want it to frighten you. On the contrary, I want this video to be constructive and positive and a source of hope for you. And that's what I'm going to turn to now, is that when you are experiencing your bad symptoms or you're in a really bad wave, it's helpful to just recognize and remember that that's not you. You are so much more intelligent, smarter, capable, stronger than you are when you're in those waves. And some of you, I know, have been in a wave for a long time, and you've been badly damaged for weeks, months, years even. And so it gets really hard to see that there could be anything to you past all these symptoms that you're experiencing. And I'm here to tell you, when I experience waves and when I experience the damage from the benzos, my self-esteem and my self-worth and my self-image just completely plummets. It's part of going through the wave process. It just goes down. It takes a nosedive. And I start to view myself in a really negative light at times. And I start to feel weak, and I start to feel incapable, and I start to feel a lot of doubt and a lot of depression and anxiety. And I have to remember, and that's why I'm making this video for you and for me, to remember that that's not me. When I'm out of that wave and when I'm experiencing a window and the symptoms have subsided, I get to see who I actually am. And I am so much more than all those crappy symptoms would have me believe. And so are you. You are so much more than the benzo damage that you're experiencing. So much more. And I just want you to know that, and I want you to see that when you have your windows. And if you haven't had any windows yet or in a long time, they're coming. And you'll see that. And this is another reason why I always speak to doing a lot of this internal spiritual and psychological work now while you're damaged, because when you get to these open windows where you're experiencing life again and you're starting to see that I can breathe again, I can function again, and not only that, I can start thriving again better than I ever did before, all that work that you've been doing while you're in the wave and while you're experiencing the bad symptoms is going to come to the forefront once those symptoms start to drop off. And I want you to know that whatever you're doing today to deal with your symptoms is good enough. It doesn't have to be some huge thing where you're trying to heal yourself, really quickly. It's just a day-by-day thing. I like to think of it this way. I'm looking at the macro. The macro for me is to be able to show up in the world as myself, who I am authentically, and to be able to be a part of society, to be helpful, to be generous, and to try to help people in as many ways as possible. Now, when I'm in my waves, or early on when I was my first couple years in benzo damage, I couldn't do that to the capacity that I can do that now. But it took time. It took time to get to where I am now. And I want to keep expanding and to keep growing and to keep getting better and better at putting myself out there helping people. So the micro looks like, what am I doing today to try to facilitate that? What am I doing today for my healing? And sometimes your healing is just going to be just holding on till you can get to bed and you didn't do much that day except lie around and try to distract yourself and do a puzzle or watch TV or listen to music. And I want you to know that that's okay too. Sometimes your day is going to look like that. But if you have a little bit of energy and a little bit of wherewithal, and you can try to push yourself even just a little bit to exercise, to jump rope, to go for a walk, to go to the gym, to try to speak to somebody, to call somebody up on the phone and just try to have a conversation, or to even try to put yourself out there if you need to get a job. Just try to do whatever you can each day in the micro, which is going to add up more and more and more to eventually get you to that macro of where you want to be. And all these things that you do, your habits that you're developing now, the skills that you can develop now, the coping strategies that you can develop now are all going to help you and propel you forward once you start to come out of the benzo fog and the benzo damage lifts more and more and you get better and better and better. That's been my experience, and I'm here to tell you that I want to share as much with you guys as I can about what I've done, how I've gotten to the place that I'm at now, and how I continue to keep expanding and keep getting better. That's my purpose for making these videos. And so each time I make one of these videos, I stop and I close my eyes and I meditate before I do it. And I think, What can I say that's going to be helpful? What can I do that's going to be helpful? And that's my intention each time I go into making one of these videos. So I would just encourage you today, what can you do? What can you do each day? And sometimes another trick that I like to use is before I go to bed at night, I'll write down a list of things that are my intention for the next day. And then when I get up the next day, after I've done my meditation, I look at my intention list and I look and see, what am I doing? What's my intention for the day? What things can I do that's going to help me in this healing journey and help me keep getting better and better? So things like meditation, diet, drinking enough water, exercise, any spiritual practices that you've picked up, maybe from my channel or from other people's content, anything that you can do that's going to help you on this healing journey, healing your shadow self, practicing gratitude, all these things are going to help you. It's about a daily practice though. It's not about picking up a gratitude list once a month or once a week. It's about the continual practice. And the more you do it, the more you're actually going to create new neural pathways in your brain. That's another thing that should give you a lot of hope. Our brains have neuroplasticity, which means that they're pliable, they're flexible, they're not static and fixed. So the things that we've learned during our life, the benzo damage that's happened, it can be reversed, and it does get reversed if you're paying attention to the right things. If you're not going down dark highways of dread and despair all the time and reading horror stories or constantly saying to yourself, I'm so damaged, I'm never healing, I'm not healing. Another good practice to use is to use I am statements. And so an I am statement, this is what I do when I meditate with I am statements. I get quiet. I put on YouTube some meditation music in the morning when I first wake up, and I put my head back on my pillow and I just lay there for about 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes, but it could just be 5 or 10 minutes. And I listen to my meditation music and I use I am statements like positive affirmations. And I say things to myself like, I am healed. Not I am healing or I want to be healed. Saying I want to be healed is kind of putting out a lack and saying that I don't have it yet. I'm not healed, so I want to be healed. What I say is I am healed. Even if I'm not feeling healed, even if I'm feeling totally crappy, I say to myself, I am healed. And then I try to feel in my body what it would be like if I were totally healed. Saying these things to yourself are very powerful. So, and that could be for whatever you want to materialize in your life. I am successful. I am intelligent. I am prosperous. I am abundant. Whatever it is, I am healed. And saying it and then feeling it in your body actually can change you from the inside out. Your physiology will be affected by the things that you say and make yourself feel. I mean, think about it when you're depressed and you say, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed, I'm so down, and you feel that in your body and it happens. You become depressed and it becomes self-perpetuating over time. I encourage you to work with some of these practices. Try meditating in the morning, try to use I am statements and see how much healing can come about as a result of it. And keep doing these things. Use these things micro every day to contribute to the macro of what you want to achieve and what you want to do with your life as you're healing. As I always say, this healing process can go one of two ways. You can go down a really, really hard, dark road of despair, or at some point you can make the decision to try to crawl out of it little by little, and you can start doing things that are going to help facilitate that. I hope this video helps you guys. I love each and every one of you. If there's any content that I could create, any subject you'd like to hear me talk about, please shoot me a comment, or you can email me now, philosophicalfishing@gmail.com, and I'll check that. And if you guys have anything that you want to suggest, comment, or just maybe shoot me an email and say, hey, I'd appreciate that too. So as always, I wish you well on your healing journey, and I love you guys.